Welcome to the very first episode of the Average Wrestle Fan Podcast. Today is October 15th, 2019. We've got our very first episode. Please enjoy. Welcome to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is the very first episode of the Average Wrestle Fan Podcast. Kind of want this show to be short and a little bit to the point. Just gonna put together some stuff that I've compiled here for this first episode. Just want to make sure I get something out there. I really kind of want to force myself to do this, and hopefully you'll enjoy what I've got for you here. And the formatting of the next shows will be a lot smoother. I'm going to detail that for you here in this next section. So enjoy this little break as we go into my first story. Quick little backstory. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been away from pro wrestling for a little more than a decade, back during the WWE Attitude Era. One of those lapsed fans that AEW has been talking a lot about. Really kind of got back into the business about a year and a half or so ago. It kind of came from my brother, who sent me a video one day, and he's like, "Hey, I'm watching this old school promos, and I really thought about you and some of the things that we used to do when we were younger." 27, so it was, maybe 14 when we were watching Attitude Era stuff. Maybe younger than that even. Probably shouldn't have been watching it, but, so it was back in those days. But yeah, so he sent me a video. It was The Rock cutting some kind of a promo. And, it kind of went back and forth a little bit. I would send him some clips, and he'd send me some clips of stuff that was going on. And one day I decided, you know what? Let me just watch some of the new stuff, see what's going on in the world of wrestling. And turned it on, and, well, I'm not going to lie, I kind of wasn't into it. Just watching it just to watch it at that point. But I really missed the old school feel that we had, and it's something obviously I was just remembering of the promotional work. The in-ring wrestling was I wouldn't say it was too much better. They've definitely perfected a particular style of wrestling now, because I still watch. It's when I got back into the WWE about a year and a half ago, I was watching it on and off, but I would notice that there's a formula, so to speak, to the matches, a little bit more than before. But yeah, so one day I said, hey, I'm going to get back into it, and I sent my brother a message that said, I'm watching this, I don't know how I really feel about it. He said, yeah, I kind of tried, and I just couldn't get back into it. And that's kind of where we were for a little bit. Then I noticed a video. I sent him a Chris Jericho promo where his Y2J, the big infamous Y2J, the break the walls down kind of Y2J. And it was the video of him cutting a promo against The Rock. The Rock was in the ring. Y2J came in at the top of the stage. They went back and forth. It was great. It was really one of the best promos that I really remember. And so watching that promo, that YouTube video, I noticed some comments about Jericho going to fight someone in Japan. Thought it was really interesting. And I called my brother and I said, hey, did you hear about this Japan Jericho? Something called a Painmaker thing, or he's fighting some guy. They're having probably what they're saying is one of the best matches of all time. And he said, no, I have no idea what that is. So, kind of followed up with that. And then, obviously, we are where we are now. We found out, hey, there's an AEW thing. And I told him, we should probably watch this. This sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. It sounds like something we, as old school, older wrestling fans would enjoy. And he agreed. And so I kind of surprised him one day. I said, hey, I got us tickets to the very first TV show. And he said, that sounds awesome. Let's go. I can't wait. Kind of got some things, life happens. It was maybe 4 months before, 5 months, whenever the tickets went on sale. He found out he needed to do a training session, essentially, for his job. He wasn't able to go. I still went. The day of the event, they put some extra tickets on sale. I got me some floor seats that I wouldn't have been able to get if he had gone. So it was really cool, really fun. Enjoyed the heck out of that first AEW show. And so that's really kind of what pushed me to do this podcast. Just kind of get my thoughts more out and just talk, everything that I found on the internet has, crazy, super hyper fans, not your average kind of guy. So hopefully this podcast resonates with quite a few people. That's really what my goal is. There's kind of a quick breakdown that I'm about to give you, kind of show you what I want the show to be like. I will be breaking down mostly U.S. Wrestling. If there's some New Japan news and, some of that kind of stuff, I'll definitely break that down. But, I'm really going to focus on the two main wrestling businesses that are out right now, AEW and WWE. Hopefully you'll enjoy, and, here's kind of a quick breakdown. There we are. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that little story, that quick story of why I'm into the pro wrestling business now, and it's a story that I feel is resonating quite a bit around the professional wrestling community right now. It's a story that I heard quite a bit when I was in Washington, D.C. A lot of people told me that similar story, and it's probably the reason a lot of y'all would click on this podcast to begin with. Y'all feel pretty much that same way. So here we go. We're going to kind of get into the format a little bit. What I plan to do, I think I'm going to have 2 shows for now. I'll be doing one on Thursday for sure. I'm going to be reviewing the AEW Dynamite show from the week before, or the day before, I guess. And one on Saturday. That's going to be kind of an overview of Raw and SmackDown. That could potentially move to Sunday on pay-per-view weeks. So I'll be doing a Raw SmackDown kind of combined show on Saturdays. It's something that I think is definitely a movable format. I could see myself going to a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday or something like that. But for now, we're going to stick with a Tuesday, Thursday. Each one is going to be pretty similar. I'm going to kind of go down the match card, talk about all the matches that specifically happened in order, and I'll have an overview of the whole show, obviously, as a middle point, and kind of just talk about what actually happened as far as storylines. So far, in AEW, there's not been too many storylines. A lot of it has been wrestling with some short promos, but I know we'll get to a point where the storylines will be there. So that's kind of the idea. If you've got an idea, please definitely post it to whatever platform you're using, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything like that. And we can definitely look into doing that as well. I do plan on having a YouTube channel. I've already posted kind of an introductory video to the channel. It's just search on YouTube, the Average Wrestle Fan. Should just be Average Wrestle Fan on YouTube. And I would appreciate any subscriptions there as well. Point, I kind of want to just give a current state of wrestling, right? So WWE, we'll start there. They're in a from a business standpoint, they're in a fantastic spot. The company's making money hands over fist. The Fox deal obviously is a mega deal. It's something that I don't know if the wrestle fans really understand how big of a deal it is that the company is now being sponsored, so to speak, by Fox. That Fox now kind of owns rights to a lot of the ideas, creative, everything like that across the platform. It's really kind of unprecedented to see. Vince, regardless of how you feel right now about creative, is a fantastic business move to do that. Obviously, also the very controversial Saudi Arabia stuff that they've got going on that I feel it kind of hinders a lot, right? Like, there's a lot of things that WWE needs to do to cater to an audience that, to be quite honest, is paying who knows how much money. And I think that's really hurt the product from the parts that I've seen this past year or so. The company itself also right now kind of is killing off the biggest thing in wrestling, the Fiend. They completely hurt him by doing that Hell in a Cell match. They should have never done that. Then the following show, we've since seen that the Fiend will come out. He attacked Rollins at the SmackDown draft, and this last Raw, Rollins actually burned down the Firefly Funhouse. Now, I don't know if this is kind of just a figure of imagination for Bray, and if Bray really has a lot, Bray Wyatt that is, has a lot of creative control of what happened. But if he did, I'd be interested to see where it's going. The problem is, I know he doesn't. From a lot of reports that I've seen, Fox had a lot of say in saying, let's get rid of that. We don't want the Firefly Funhouse on SmackDown. It doesn't make sense to our fans. And WWE, of course, obliged. So, in terms of the top of the business, that's a little frustrating. I do think there's a lot of talent in that lower to mid card, which has now moved a lot to Raw. You've got people like Ricochet, the AJ Styles guy, OC, a lot of, the Viking Raiders, whatever they're called. A lot of those mid-card, lower guys. King Corbin, I'm a big fan of Corbin now. That kind of stuff I think is fantastic. I think that's growing, and it's good to see that there's a little bit of a future stars that are kind of being interwoven into storylines there. Of course, the biggest thing in wrestling right now is AEW, right? The disruptors of the wrestling business. I think what Cody, the Young Bucks, Omega, and Tony Khan have put out, the product that they're showing is resonating. It's going to be pretty cool to see this upcoming Wednesday how many people actually tune into the show. From what I understand, there's not going to be too much competition. I think there's one baseball game going on, a couple of NBA things, but for the majority, it won't be like last week where there was a big overlay in a baseball game covering up some of the ratings. So it'll be interesting to see if the company can maintain more than 1 million people on TNT, here in the States at least. And I think it can. I think the buzz around the business is maintained pretty well, and it'll do well. As far as storylines go, I do think they're having a little bit of a hiccup to start because they're trying to establish all these people, and they do make a small assumption. Luckily for me, I kind of got into the program early enough that I did some studying, but they're trying to establish a lot of these people based off of their past. Someone like a Kenny Omega, right? A lot of people, if they've never watched New Japan, they've never watched that Ring of Honor, anything of those things, like, a lot of us haven't. I feel like a lot of people haven't. They have no idea what this cleaner thing is. People calling him the greatest wrestler of our time, of our generation, whatever the phrase directly is. But all we see is that he's losing, He had a couple of cool matches, but, and he definitely he moves around the ring in one of the most beautiful ways, gracefully. But it's definitely out there a little bit, I think, for most people. And I think, it could hurt them a little bit in the short term, but they're doing a great job of showing that on Being the Elite, the YouTube channel. If y'all don't watch that, you definitely should. Just Being the Elite on YouTube. It's a Young Bucks basically story or a vlog of what's going on, and they've started to incorporate some storyline stuff onto there as well that they don't show on TV. I think they could, and it'll produce a better product. Overall, AEW is in a great spot. They can really do whatever they want at this current point in time. So that's kind of what I think of the two businesses. WWE needs to really get themselves together and kind of come up with an idea. They need to solidify everything and then push the company back to where it once was. It's easy to say, I know, but I feel like they can do it. They have the financials to do it. I'm surprised if they don't. Other than that, obviously, we've also got AEW who can do whatever they want, and it'll go whatever way they want. So hopefully you kind of enjoyed this first episode. It's been great for y'all to be with us. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, the very first episode of the Average Wrestle Fan Podcast. hopefully you enjoyed it. I know I have a few edits in there that I can make that are better. But I overall am happy that I'm able to actually put this out. Again, thanks to our sponsors at the beginning of the episode. Please do look forward to the next episode coming out on Thursday, with tomorrow being All Elite Wrestling Dynamite Week 3. We've got a couple of cool matches, Darby Allin, Jericho, some more of the tag team wrestling. We watched AEW Dark today, didn't go over any of that, but it was fantastic. We have a good week of wrestling. Look forward to the next show on Thursday and Saturday, which will review Raw and SmackDown. Thank you for listening to the Average Wrestle Fan Podcast. Please be sure to click the subscribe button on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts to be alerted to any and all new shows that come out. Once again, this has been Angel with the Average Wrestle Fan. See you next time.